talked about this a long time ago when we were again working on Home Free. You had difficulty with certain emotions, and so we looked at things that had happened to you. That you would, oh right, am I right about that? And then you start thinking about that, reliving that, and that comes out in the play.
Yeah, it's tough for me because I think I intellectualize
You
more
do.
than, and so it's really tough to bring up those emotions sometimes because I'm not the most emotionally open in life.
See,
so
that's one of the things
barriers.
that's been interesting for me to work with you, because as a young actor, and I don't know if I still get that criticism, but I was always told, you think too much, just feel it. Now, I didn't know what.
Yeah.
So then I come and I meet you, and I think, oh my goodness, here's this young actor that has to learn to expand his emotional, not necessarily range, but because I'm sure the range is there, but might be suppressed, and learn to. It's okay to let that out. I love to tell actors that this is the one profession where you can make an absolute ass of yourself. I mean, and I don't mean by being goofy. You can cry, you can fall on your face, you can strangle somebody, just do these horrible things, and instead of people saying, "Oh my God, that guy's weird," they say, "Oh, wasn't that wonderful?" Oh.
One of the things that happens is we have a fallback position,
Yeah.
and you frequently fall back to being angry.
Yeah. Well, I think that's something that I have done in life in regards to pain and things that are sensitive is I push them down
Yes.
and I control it and it manifests itself because I don't want people to see that I'm hurt. So it manifests itself in anger or arrogance. And so that has carried over into my acting, and that's not good as a performance.
Except that you have this huge reservoir when you learn to turn on the
It's hard
taps.
to turn on the taps.
Yeah, of
though.
course
Yes.
it's hard to turn on the taps.
It's so difficult. I'm always really gross about it. It's like pulling the scab off of an ugly pimple. Mm-hmm. And then when that comes out, it's never pleasant to look at, but the relief is amazing.
Mm-hmm. And then the next thing is to do it not just in rehearsal, but in one production after another, after another.
To reach that, to press that button. And I think that's really hard. That's really hard to say, okay, you've done that. Now you have to revisit it.
Yeah.
And it can't look mechanical. It doesn't do any good to write it down in your book. You have to find that. Sometimes it's in an inexplicable place. So not just to feel it, but to be able to push the button and have it come again. And that's hard when you're angry.
Yeah.
Because emotional doesn't correlate with noisy or loud or
Yeah.
it.
Last night was really emotional at parts. I almost felt like I wanted to start crying when I asked the woman in the front row who I knew when she first fell in love. And I have no idea why that almost choked me up last night, because that's like a nice moment. So I have no idea why the emotions hit me there. But I'd like to explore, like even tonight, I'd like to explore that type of feeling again in that moment, because but it's almost like, it's more about the beauty. I think that's what I felt like crying, but it was almost a melancholy mixed with this overwhelming beauty I felt in that line. And that had never happened in that space before. Another part of the play that I think though is good though, and I think this play has brought that out, that aspect in me is the lightness and goofiness. Yeah. And I think that's not something 7 years ago I would have been that interested in exploring, but it's something I think I can be quite good at, the comedy and the musicality, like the little bit of song and stuff. Even last night, and most of the people had never seen me on stage, and the song, when I burst into song, there was no reactions. They were just, like I couldn't believe. And I think that this play has been a lot of fun to open up my goofiness and clownishness and the lightness. And that's been really fun for me to explore that aspect of me as an actor, is the fun part.
I want to go someplace a little heavy here for a second. Just go back to when you're talking about the exchange with the woman. Because that's a potentially very dangerous moment. potentially. I remember doing a show in Toronto many, many years ago, and a similar thing happened to an actress. She felt very, very moved. The play was Tom Paine, and Tom Paine was dying or something. I can't remember what it was. And she started to cry. That was real. She started to cry, and it was so powerful for her that she decided to recreate that.
Mm-hmm.
And the play there then became about her,
Yeah.
not about the story, not about the audience, and it was painful. It was painful. It was so be careful. Lovely when it happens, if it happens. I'm not saying don't explore it and don't, but just remember the play is not about
It's not about
not about the actor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So